So for our first project, in order to learn a lot about what we're going to, all of the different functions that Photoshop can offer us, we're going to come in and design a donut. And it's going to have a number of different toppings on it. And that's a big part of our project. So that's why I started with these pretty pictures of, I just Googled gourmet donuts. The nice part is that they don't have to be something like you would physically buy at like a fancy donut shop. It could be something a little more on the creative side, like some of these from students in the past. So, as you could tell, you probably wouldn't buy a pizza donut. They called it the pizzonut, which I thought was fun. But the goal of the project is that I'm going to teach you how to make this like sort of ring shape, the traditional donut shape with the big hole in the middle. We'll learn how to shade and add a lot of shadow. And we have to have 3 toppings on top of that cake part of the donut. So as you could tell here for the strawberry shortcake donut, they've got like the frosting, the white stuff. What's another topping? Sorry. What's another topping on strawberry shortcake?
Strawberries.
Strawberries, perfect. So that's number 2. What's number 3? Yeah, chocolate. Like I call that a drizzle. This stuff here. So they do a drizzle. And then we're going to add like a 3D effect to it. Charles, what's the 3D effect called that's your favorite? Bevel and emboss, Charles' favorite term. And that's how we're going to get that very like rounded raised edge. Okay. So every time I post a project, I post it on Classroom here. And I've got all of your information here as well. So you've got your project outline, which is the thing I just went over. And I'm going to post the videos here when I'm done. Got our objectives and the requirements that I just went over. We're going to do it over 3 days. So I ask that when you get to a certain point, you just take a pause and you'll work independently. Okay. It does have to have those 3 layers and it does have to have the hole in the middle for this one. And then your grading is here at the bottom. Okay. So I put this on the page as well. It's optional. It's sometimes people like to use it just to jot their ideas down. Not going to grade it. It's just there for you to like record ideas. You and your neighbor maybe like have a great idea and then, our class doesn't meet and you forget it the next time. So it's a little planning page there. You could talk about like what color your donut will be. You could give it a fun name. You could talk about what each topping layer would look like. And any other details on here. Again, optional. It's just like scrap paper to jot down your ideas. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to take like a 5-10 minute pause for you to like figure out if you're going to have a partner today. And I want you to figure out like what your donut you want it to look like. By the end of the period, I want to at least like draw the ring shape and shade it in. That's really all we're getting to today. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes, sir. It is going to look 3-dimensional. That's why we're going to do the shading. So it's going to. That I promise. Okay. Any other questions coming to mind? Based on what some of the research we've done, what were like some interesting flavors you saw of donuts so far that looked good, like taste wise? Goo? Ooh? Oh, ooh. Okay. What else? What other flavors do you have? Glazed. Good. What other flavors are there out there of donuts that look good?
Guava.
Boston cream. Guava. What else? Go ahead. Biscoff. Okay. Also, like I saw someone had like s'mores. We saw all different types of like chocolate. So flavor wise, there's a lot. Design wise, I think we saw a lot of different things. We saw them designed like fruits or vegetables, or maybe they just had a lot of crazy toppings on them. So you have a lot of options. What I want to do is I want to go over how to set up the canvas and like your workspace. So I'm going to demonstrate it and you're going to watch. So please don't like try and do it while I'm demonstrating because you're probably going to miss a step. I promise I'll put all the steps up on the board and we'll be able to post like the demo too. Okay. So make sure you're minimized, please, so you're not doing it with me. Can you minimize your screen, please? Thank you. Yes, son, can you get, thank you. Okay, so what you're going to do when we open up Photoshop is this. We'll make a new file, but we have to, we'll do something a little different than yesterday. We'll always work in inches, but for the sake of this project, it's going to be 8 by 10. What number did we say our resolution should almost always be? 300. Awesome. We are almost always working in CMYK. And the one thing I'm going to change differently today is the background contents. There's a lot of options. So for this part, we're going to do transparent. And you're going to be like, what the heck's that about? It's going to show up as little like gray and white checkers. And all that means is that it's empty space. So if it comes out of the printer and printer paper and there's nothing on it, what color is it going to be? White, exactly. It's just a little easier because like you may do some like white icing on your donut and it may be hard to see. So white icing on white paper may be hard to see. So we're gonna use a transparent background and it will print like white printer paper. Okay. So we'll set up our canvas like that. The other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set guides. And all guides are like, I call them invisible ink. They'll always show up on Photoshop, but they'll never print on your paper ever. And you can move them, which is really nice. So if I choose this tool at the tippy top here, the move tool, it's like a cross like that. And I click on my ruler and I drag over. I could set a guide by hand like that. Or you can make it super exact. Go to view, new guide. I don't care how you do it. It's up to you. So I'm going to tell you where the guides have to be. So vertically here, there'll be a 3, 4, and 5 inches. So you can kind of see the aqua there because I know it's hard to see from far away. View, new guide. I'm going to do another one at 5 inches. And now I'm also going to do them horizontally, and it's going to look like a big intersection, like where cars would drive through. View, new guide. And this time I want them horizontal. 4 inches. View, new guide, 5 inches. And you could do it again that way, or you could just drag it down like that and sit it on 6 inches. So it makes a big intersection in your car, like a car would drive through like that. So that's all I want to get to for now. And then we'll take a little bit of a pause. I'm going to write all of those steps down on the Smart Notebook so you have it. And we'll go over in a sec. Okay. What's up, Wyatt? So when we start making the cake shape, we're going to make a perfect circle. And the cool part about it is we're going to use like a selection tool, and it won't allow us to color outside of the circle, which is pretty cool. So we're going to use this like dotted shape here. You'll probably see a rectangle first. It's right in the top of the toolbox here. I'm going to hold it down, and it's called the elliptical marquee tool. It's just a fancy name for like a dotted circle. And all it is a selection tool. So I'm going to go to the middle of my intersection here, the absolute middle of my paper. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt. And as you can tell, it pulls from like the middle of the paper. So I'm going to make it pretty big, but I'll leave a little bit of border to the end of the paper like that. Okay. So we've got a big old dotted line circle, which is cool. Now we're going to make like the donut hole in the middle. And that's going to sit in this little 4 square element here. Now, it's a donut hole, and the hole is empty. So I'm going to click up here in my tool options, and it's like a square on top of a square. I'm going to draw that in here for you so you know what I'm talking about. So it's like a, wanted. So there we go. It's like a square on top of a square like that. So it's right up here. I don't need to click anything, but you'll notice next to my crosshairs there's a little minus sign. That way that nothing fills that area. Okay. So I have my donut, which is great. So all this is empty. It's just like a selection tool. And when I'm ready to paint it, I'm going to use just a paintbrush here. And there's a little drop down at the top. And I'm going to pick a soft brush. And it looks like it's more like airbrushed, like that. That way I get like a nice blendy, fuzzy effect. Okay. What color should I do? If I want like the brown family, a lot of people always ask that. You go into like the yellowy orangey region here, and you could get different colors like that. I'm going to start with like a, not wild about that one. A medium brown. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. And I blow up my brush tip. And watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to start pretty dark on the edge like that. So what's happening when I hover my mouse over the dotted line edge?
It's not going out of the wall.
Exactly, which is really nice. We get that perfect circle. I go over a few times to kind of get that dark element. I'm also going to do it in the middle too. So watch what happens here. Oh, what's happening in the middle of my donut hole? Okie dokes. So I'm making sure it gives it that really cool 3D effect, right? Because you've got that like the dark shadow on the edge and it's a little lighter in the middle. So what I like to do is also go in and I need to get like a few little lighter tones to fill in because otherwise that's just like straight up white and that's boring. Something you could do that makes life a little easier is just like, this is your opacity slider. You can drag it back a little bit. I'm going to go to like 75-ish. And this is a really big brush tip. So if you want to shrink it, you could use the bracket keys on your keyboard. You're probably like, what does that mean? So the bracket keys are these guys. They look like that. And you can like slowly start to fill in those areas. It's a little still dark for me. I think I'm going to go lighter. Step back in my history. Let's go in like the 40 range. So I like to gradually get like lighter. I'm going to go to the middle again and get a little bit lighter. And you could even go to like, I don't know, keep it pretty light. I'm going to go to 13. So I like to leave a little bit of like that whiteness in the middle for shadow. It's probably going to get covered anyway, but it's a really good place to start, which gives us that nice rounded effect. So am I going to see those checkers when it prints later? No, right? Because that's just white. It's just going to be like a lighter area. Some people even like to go in and they'll go in with like a little bit of a gray and they want to go in on the edge with that too. So you're welcome to do something like that if you want to add a little bit of shadow. I'm going to bring the opacity up all the way so it's more of like a solid gray. Yeah, that may be a little bit too much shadow for me. Let's go like 55. So it's getting used to like what's going to give you like the shadow you want. I wouldn't go too crazy with the gray because, as you know, most gray foods look like they're probably rotten. So you want to tread lightly with that. But you get a pretty cool shadow for your shape. Okay. Any questions so far about how we go about making the shape?